Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrifice my time so you don't have to. Make it a little bit lighthearted. There's two things that I wanted to cover. I'm recording this directly after the whole little bullshit racist rant. Go check that video out if you want to. But this is another video. I'm recording this again directly after this one, but you're gonna hear this one a couple hours later because I want that video to really marinate. But check this out real quick, man. Sasha Banks on that bullshit. Oh, I'm sorry. Mercedes Mone on that bullshit. I gotta say it like that because this article has a bit of context attached to it. AEW's Mercedes Mone assesses differences with WWE character Sasha Banks. Now, mind you, she was saying this all in the Breakfast Club, but let's see what Mercedes Mone has to say about her Sasha Banks character. This is actually my first time hearing her talk about her character from WWE. When characters, by the way, link is down in the description box below. When characters evolve in wrestling, it can be a daunting task. For Mercedes Mone, current AEW, TBS, and New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Champion, it came easy. After she left WWE, beginning the path that would eventually lead her to AEW, Mone felt empowered to expand the image she was trying to sell back in the heyday of the, and I quote, legit boss era. What? Not everything has to be a fucking era, people. Okay, let's continue. Oh my god. So back in the heyday of her, and I quote, legit boss era, to a more compelling go-getter who refused to take no for an answer. Recently, Mone sat down with the Breakfast Club to discuss the difficulties one experiences when embracing the world of kayfabe, and how she refused to have a defeatist attitude when her Banks character wasn't working out anymore. And I quote from Sasha, "Being a wrestler is role-playing online. It's role-playing offline. Once I put on that wig, I'm Sasha Banks." Well, I'm happy that you're now admitting that it was a wig. I mean, we all knew it was a wig, but I mean, you always pretend as if it was your own hair. Okay, whatever, continuing on. "I'm not her. I'm Mercedes Mone," Mone commented. "I really felt like it was time to be that, and to own that brand." In her own words, Mone argued that her Banks and Mone characters are night and day. With Mone, she has more freedom behind the wheel to make her own creative decisions, a major factor in why she signed with AEW. Back in WWE, she felt her Banks persona did not have an active voice, which she mentioned more about when asked about her past relationship with former WWE CEO Vince McMahon later in the interview. And I quote, continuing on, "Sasha was a, and I quote, legit boss. Now, Mercedes, she leveled up. She is the CEO of her own life," Mone replied. "She is the CEO of the women's division, and she is the best in the game. She won't let anybody tell her no. With Sasha Banks, I was told what to do. I was told what to say. I was told where to be. And now, really, I get to be the CEO of my own life and let people know where I want to be." Bro, she is, okay, I can't stress this enough, bro. Sasha Banks has got to be one of the most cringiest motherfucking wrestlers I think I've ever heard in my life, bro. Every time she opens up her mouth, she says, like, bro, I can tell she's into that astrology bullshit, right? Or that manifestation, you know, like, I seen this TikTok. I don't know if you guys watch the channel Think Before You Sleep. Great YouTuber, by the way. He was showing this video, right, a couple of months ago, or maybe it was the last week. I can't remember. I watch his videos out of sync sometimes. But he was showing this lady in one of the examples that he was talking about, where like she was manifesting how she's gonna go to the park and she's gonna step out of her car and it's like pouring down raining outside, right? And she's like, when I step out my car, the rain is gonna magically stop. Why? Because I want it to stop. And I'm looking at this shit, and I didn't even have to say it. Sean said it. He said, "Think Before You Sleep's real name." He said she most likely pre-recorded the video, looked at the weather report, noticed when it was gonna rain, went to the park, sat in her car, waited for it to stop raining, and then recorded the video to kind of get it as close as she possibly can. So when she says she wants it to stop raining, it's gonna fall right then and there. And by the way, as noted in his video, it didn't stop raining. I mean, it drizzled a little bit, so technically it didn't stop raining. That's how Sasha Banks comes off to me, bruh. She manufactures her like career as far as her Mercedes Mone character is considered, and like she has to give it some type of lore, some type of things, and make it distinguish from WWE, because she wants to stand on her own 2 feet. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to stand on your own 2 feet, but like you do know that the shit that you're saying about your Mercedes Mone character is literally the exact same thing in regards to your Sasha Banks character, which honestly wasn't even really a character to begin with. I mean, what is it? Like, you give yourself a title and now all of a sudden you happen to be a character? It seems that this happens to be the case more and more often in wrestling nowadays. You give yourself a nickname and now all of a sudden you're this gimmick. You're now this new person. It's like I remember people actually saying shit like, oh, Seth Rollins, he's now, because remember, like I said earlier, they divide things in eras, and they divide things, like, what do you, bro, so they said, he had the, what do you call it, the, architect gimmick, right? That's when he first started, right? Oh no, I think the architect gimmick was afterwards. Beforehand, I forgot his nickname, but like he legitimately was doing the exact same fucking character. When I say the exact same fucking character, like around 2018 or so, the exact same fucking character. And they differentiate both of those gimmicks, and I don't know how they stand on their own as far as the characteristics are concerned. The same thing can be said about Mercedes Mone. Like, there's like, what's the difference? But then she gives herself the difference. Her difference is it's a shoot, right? The difference is that there's a shoot element attached to it. And the shoot element is coming from her. Well, the Mercedes Mone character, you know, I stand on my own 2 feet and I do whatever the hell I want to do. But the Sasha Banks character, she does what she's told to do. That's the big difference. One is wink wink, because, you know, it's a shoot, and, you know, it's 2024, and having to rely on actual creative, you know, kayfabe wise, we can't do in professional wrestling nowadays. So follow me, guys. Follow me. Wink wink. Mercedes Mone, she doesn't follow creative. But Sasha Banks, she follows creative. Like, is this where we are at in professional wrestling nowadays? Hey, yo, for the hardcore Sasha Banks stands out there, Mercedes Mone, whatever the fuck you want to call her, do you really see? I need to hear from y'all specifically, not the people who are like me on the side of common sense. You guys are like experiments to us, okay? You're like little mice running around in the maze, and we're just sitting back and having to figure out what the fuck is going on in order to say to ourselves, okay, so maybe we could take these patterns and try to you know, like correlate it with other behaviors and other things, or maybe we could put these medicines and see how they actually react and then try to decipher that. Here's an experiment for you guys. We're watching you guys. Is there a legitimate difference between Sasha Banks and Mercedes Mone? Character-wise. None of that shoot bullshit. Character-wise. She comes out. She does a cringy dance. Now, granted, the Mercedes Mone dance is, you know, a little bit... She evolved it, right? I mean, she still comes out and she does the whole little fucking bouncing around like a stripper, and then she poses, and then she, like, you know, takes her no booty and swings it around like she always does on the top of the stage, right? But now she, you know, she does like the chicken noodle soup with a soda on the side dance, right? Now she let it rains and then she clears it out, right? That's the only evolution with the Mercedes Mone gimmick that I fucking see. She gets in the ring, right? She tries to play the cool heel like she always does, no matter. I mean, if it's a face, then she tries to do the whole ambiguity thing, and if it's a heel, then it's the cool heel thing, right? And she never really does anything as far as getting heat. Never. I can never tell you one thing that Sasha Banks has ever done besides the stereotypical heel type of calling the town crappy or picking on a sports team or whatever the case may be. Her mic skills are absolutely fucking atrocious. No different than the Sasha Banks character. Just one is heavily more produced than the other. So I'm just trying to figure out what you guys see that I'm not really seeing at the moment. Like, is there a difference in the wrestling style? She does the same fucking moves that she did with Sasha Banks. I mean, outside of the, you know, adding more to her repertoire that's a hell of a lot more destructive in regards to her in-ring ability as far as overexposing what the hell she can and cannot do. I mean, is it the presentation? Well, you go from the boss to the CEO. Isn't that the same fucking thing? Huh? She says it's leveling up. How? It's the same thing. A boss is the CEO. What are you talking about? Vince McMahon was a CEO. He was the boss. What the fuck? Chief Executive Officer. Do you know what chief means, huh? Huh? Is Mercedes Mone more LD? Is she more of a yellow bus rider than Sasha Banks? No. I mean, but again, You guys tell me in the comment section if I'm apparently not seeing anything, because you guys are the experts. You guys are the Sasha Banks dick riders. You're going to tell me what the fuck I'm not seeing and what everybody else ain't seeing that apparently you're seeing, okay? I mean, you're the ones who can probably tell the difference between the scent of her panties on Monday versus the scent of her panties about 3 weeks ago, right? So you can tell me at least what's the difference between one character versus the other character. But let's talk about the actual production of the Sasha Banks character, because I do, personally speaking, I do see a difference. Not in the characteristics, right? No, none of that stuff. I mean, evaluating how one is actually way better than the other. Now, make no mistake about it, I've never been a Sasha Banks fan. I don't like Sasha Banks. I think, at least with the Sasha Banks character back in, say, 2020, when she was having the run with Bayley, I tolerated her. I thought, okay, well, this is fun. I mean, honestly, it was mainly because of Bayley, but I digress, though. You mean, hey, you're hitched to that wagon also, right? You know, it takes two to tango, so I'll give credit where credit is due. I'll be charitable. I did enjoy Sasha Banks for a little bit back in 2020 over the summertime. Again, mainly Bayley, but still, though. Caveat, right? But what I noticed with the Sasha Banks character, Sasha Banks as a wrestler in WWE, because you're going to get people, oh, it's an AEW, WWE thing. Bitch, I've been shitting all over WWE these past couple of days, and I praised AEW's last show, so suck my dick when it comes to that, okay? No. Has nothing to do with what brand they work for. I like AEW wrestlers, and I like certain WWE wrestlers. I hate certain WWE wrestlers, and I hate AEW wrestlers. Depends on what the fucking mood I am in regards to what I'm watching in regards to the match. Whatever. My point being is, with Sasha Banks, her being heavily produced and minimizing what she brings to the table and accentuating what she has brought to the table, you know what I mean? Like, what she wants to do, and this goes for all the wrestlers, and I'm starting to notice this, especially with the newer wrestlers who, unfortunately, this isn't their fault. You know, when you're stuck in the PC center for the majority of your career in order to train properly to be on television, there's only so much you can do, right? You're only going to fit one style of professional wrestling. And here's the thing. With the WWE style of wrestling, they minimize a lot of the negatives with the wrestlers nowadays. But in all honesty, there doesn't necessarily need to be any minimizing if you guys just have more practice, right? And I'm not talking about practice as far as going out there and doing your 450 spots when no one's looking, right? Bouncing on the trampoline and shit. No, I mean actually being able to go town to town, having to cut promos on this city and see how it works on a smaller crowd, having to work this match and see what you can do to get over. You guys remember back in the days, maybe some of you guys know, maybe some of you guys don't know, how wrestling used to work back in the days was like all the stuff that you see on television. Like, for an example, you'll see a match between one person versus another person, right? They probably worked prior to this. Like, if they start a program, let's just hypothetically say you see a program on television for the first time in March of 1991, right? Let's just say March of 1991, you're seeing a fresh program on television. Almost 9 times out of 10, they probably worked like 100 house show matches prior to that. Like, they probably legitimately started working with each other back in August of 1990 before you seen it on television in March of 1991, for an example, right? Guys have had plenty of matches. That's what you want to do to prepare yourself, so by the time you come on television, you kind of have a feel for the person that you're wrestling. Okay, well, I know what I can do here, I know what I can do here. And it's not to say that WWE doesn't have any live events anymore and that they don't do this from time to time, but what I am suggesting is the people that they were working with, as far as with each other, they were throwing out creative ideas as far as what to do in the match, as far as how to cultivate a presentation based off the stuff that they got off the territory system. So they were able to go all around the country, pick up different styles, maybe hear a guy say this in Washington, D.C., and then maybe they can use it as somewhere in Oregon, or maybe you're in New York City and you heard something in the South that sounded really cool, then you brought back up to New York with you. And then when you do stuff like that, and then you have like, say, 40 or 50 or 60 different wrestlers who are doing the exact same thing that you're doing, 9 times out of 10, when you work a match with each other a bunch of times, based off of all the stuff that you learned as far as your background is considered, when you come on television, bruh, like, everything's gonna feel super duper fresh. That's how they always kept that shit fresh. Never mind the creative that WWE had back then when they were more composed. They paced themselves a hell of a lot more. It was more emphasis on being able to take things up a notch little by little, but making sure the things that they're taking up a notch is still interesting. It's not like how wrestling is nowadays when you see a story, for an example, and it's like, well, okay, let's kind of have these guys face each other. Then we'll pull back a little bit, and we won't have that guy on television for the next week or two. And then he'll be back on television like maybe 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. And maybe, who knows, we might put him in a couple of promos for like 30 seconds in the middle of the fucking show, never to be seen again, building up to his return in 2 more weeks. And then they get a bit of a, maybe it might be this week or maybe it might be the go-home show. They kind of, it depends on how they usually do it. Typically, it's the week right here, and then it's the go-home show. They'll have some kind of face-off, some type of special event, they brawl, something happens, sometimes they might not even brawl. And then the following week for the go-home show, they have some random match. Typically, if it happens to be a stable, it's going to be somebody affiliated with that stable, a tag team match, a 6-man tag match, a one-on-one match with that person. Sometimes you might even get a one-on-one match with that person in a gimmick, right? Just to build up to the go-home show going to the pay-per-view, and you might get a sighting of the champion, you might get a sighting of that competitor, or you might not. But notice how it just kind of fluctuates back and forth as far as how they want to book things, but it's never kept consistent as far as it going forward and forward and forward and forward and still forwarding whatever storyline or whatever promo or whatever, feud in general as far as progressing to the pay-per-view. That's what I'm talking about. And it seems like they don't do that very often nowadays, right? So when you get someone like a Mercedes Mone, who, honest to God, she is so fucking produced as the Sasha Banks character, but she's produced, cultivated by a wrestling business that has not allowed her to go outside of her comfort zone. And I don't mean going to New Japan Pro Wrestling. See, that's a problem also. When I say different territories back in the days, they all had their own special kind of style. You know what I mean? You go to Southern Wrestling, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a bunch of promos and stuff like that. You go to Tennessee or somewhere towards the West, Southern Hemisphere or whatever, or West Southern country in the United States, you're going to get more hardcore matches, right? You go to New York City, you're going to get some more of the showmanship, some more of the gimmicks and the presentation and whatever the case may be, right? That's how it usually happens. You go more north, like towards Calgary or stuff like that, you're going to get more technical wrestling, more, strong style wrestling, for an example. You got a mix of styles up in Calgary, for an example, or in Canada in general, right? You go a little bit more south, you're going to get more lucha libre and stuff like that. Nowadays, it seems like every professional wrestler, they just want to go directly to New Japan Pro Wrestling. All you really get out of that is a strong style. You know what I mean? Maybe occasionally you might go to Mexico, but then all you get is a lucha libre style. And almost everything in lucha libre nowadays, it's not a story built around the style. It's the style in itself that all that matters. So all you get nowadays is just a bunch of choreographed matches, which apparently all the wrestlers like nowadays. And that's the kind of influence that is on Sasha Banks. That is the kind of influence that you see on all these wrestlers nowadays. They can't never just decipher what is good for my character that I need in order to promote this match, which this match in itself I need in order to sell tickets, which is going to get me in a good standing. They never really do that, which is why you get so many low-tier superstars. And unfortunately, because the fans nowadays, they have yet to really understand, or they have yet to really been around talent as far as growing up and seeing how great one guy can actually be in a minimized state, in a minimized environment, and you get multiple of that. So it's like today you long and you hope to see things like a Drew McIntyre and a CM Punk, or you want to see things like a Roman Reigns, for an example. You hope to see more of that kind of stuff consistently, but it's only 3 people versus back in the days, bro, that was like 80% of the roster. It was easy to have a favorite back then. That's the difference right now that I see that's affecting the Sasha Banks character in terms of her being cultivated and her being molded in a way where you look at WWE superstars and there's so much mistakes being hidden, but when time comes when they have to leave the company and they have to stand on their own 2 feet because they haven't learned so much, always remember, man, that WWE hides your weaknesses and they do a great job at your presentation. Obviously, considering that AEW scoops up any fucking talent that WWE shits out whenever they release them or if they quit. But the problem is the fact that when they leave, I mean, it's not like leaving the territory. You've been stuck in the same spot for damn near a decade, sometimes over a decade, a little bit under a decade, and you only know their system. And their system pretty much is hiding all your faults. So then you go to a different company, man, you're fucking lost. you're fucking lost, bro. You're screwed. You are fucking screwed. God forbid if you really do go to New Japan Pro Wrestling and you learn more of the bad shit. You know what I mean? It's not saying New Japan Pro Wrestling is bad. It's good for whatever they produce within their country. But when you don't know shit, and then you immediately go there and then you take their stuff, or you go to Mexico and you take their stuff, and you haven't even got down pat the presentation for the most part as far as your character is considered. I mean, bruh, it's a hat on a hat, but the hat that you're hiding underneath that hat is fucked up and damaged. It's like putting makeup on a pig, man. Still a pig in the end of the day. You still that image of a pig still exists. And that's Mercedes Mone. Now, I'm not comparing her to a pig, folks, as far as looks. Calm the fuck down. I'm comparing her to a pig in the sense of, like, she has way too many faults. And thinking that the makeup of New Japan or Mexico is gonna cover up all that shit, thinking that you can just go on the Breakfast Club and conjure up some bullshit and talk about how you're being oppressed as far as your creative is considered, or you're standing within the company, when in reality you weren't. I mean, that's one bad thing about Mercedes Mone also that I don't like, is that, like, she pretends as if she was down on her luck in WWE, that she was being misused, mischaracterized and everything, when she wasn't. I mean, you comparing your standing with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, two of the biggest women wrestlers of all time, you comparing your standards to them and falling short compared to them does not say that you yourself haven't had a bunch of career opportunities throughout your entire career. That's one thing that I hate that she does all the time too, man. Like, it's like a millionaire complaining that they're poor because they live next to a billionaire. It's like, okay, yeah, you're nowhere near close to the billionaire, but my dude, you're still a millionaire. She does that shit a lot, man. But there's no difference between the Mercedes Mone character and the Sasha Banks character. There really isn't. The one is hyper focused as far as her career was in WWE, and she stood out a hell of a lot better because everything that she did in that company was made to make her look good, hence why she's in AEW right now. But the Mercedes Mone character, well, the veil is off now. Bro, like, you're exposed. You've been exposed. That's just it. You've been exposed. There's no getting around that. And mind you, because you're going to get a bunch of people in the comment section, and I promise you, they might not even make it to this part of the video. So if they do, tag them on this right here. Timestamp them. Did you guys hear me disparage Mercedes Mone? Did you guys hear me shit talk her? The majority of this video was using her as a talking point, if anything else, is to make an example out of professional wrestling today as far as how I feel about the majority of the rosters in general. I used her as a way to talk about the problems with professional wrestling more so than talking about her as a standalone topic in the video in itself. But they won't make it that far. And that's the problem also with professional wrestling fans nowadays. You guys need to stop jumping directly to, this guy hates this person, therefore we have to have pitchforks and torches. Not everybody hates a person, but I don't hate anybody in professional wrestling at all, period, point blank. I hate their character. I don't like how they work. The styles that they have, it just doesn't work for me. And that's because my standards are higher because I come from a different generation where that shit was expected and everybody watched it more. Whereas you come from a generation where expectations are so low and no one gives a fuck about professional wrestling like that nowadays. They really don't. They don't. All you know is mediocrity. And I'm going to tell you what is mediocre and what is not mediocre. It's up to you as to whether or not you want to take it. But no one is shitting on a wrestler. Just because we notice doesn't mean we hate the person. But as always, I'm gonna let you guys talk about this amongst each other in the comment section. I felt like this is a very healthy topic, and I want to get more in depth. I mean, if you guys got more that you want to add as far as, well, Devontae, can I take this and spin it? Or hell, even if you want to say, Devontae, I think you're wrong about this part right here. Here's an example, A, B, C. But all right, go ahead and do that. Let me know. But I need to get the fuck up out of here because I have to get ready to go to work in the next 2 hours. So let me go right now, okay? As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. A deuces and a P. Eyes.